Welcome back to the show, guys. It's Sammy here. Today I was thinking about what to cover, and we have a myriad of challenges as podcasters. And one of the biggest ones that you'll run into is making sure that people subscribe to your ecosystem, not just your podcast, aka getting their email. And I wanted to do this episode specifically on capturing emails from a podcast, because if you don't do that, what happens is you can be subject to what I've seen happen to many of my friends. They've been shadow banned, they've been canceled, they lose their account, the platform goes down. It happens all the time. I've seen this happen with over a dozen of my friends. And in the health and wellness space, especially, you want to really capture emails, because there are so many trolls out there that will shut down accounts, that will combat you in a public forum if they don't believe in what you're doing. And most of the time they're wrong. You guys are the health experts, let's be honest. But there is a lot of shade people like to throw. So what we wanted to cover today, because this happened to us personally, I watched one of my friends, Kurt Malley, had his Facebook shut down for, I don't know, it must have been like a decade or something. That was his main source of income. It was insane. And he just got it back. He's an amazing marketer. And this is some of the stuff that I've actually learned from him as well. But wanted to share these tips. I also have scoured the internet for some of my favorite resources on what and how to capture emails as well from a podcast specifically. And so I'm going to share those with you today. And one of the tried and true things that happens with people when they start a podcast is they set up their podcast, they have a redirect that goes to their homepage, and they forget that people are going to want to find your email without having to look at the show notes, because they'll be walking, they'll be listening in a car, they'll be driving. And that's what you want with people, is for them to remember how to get to your podcast. So if they're already listening to your podcast, one simple thing that you can do, and I found actually a couple of really cool articles that I'll link in here too. One of them's from captivate.fm, great platform. But a couple of things you want to do when you're setting up your podcast to make sure that it's easy for people to remember is you want to say the name of your podcast.com. So for us, it'd be healthyprofitspodcast.com/subscribe. And that is an easy way for people to remember your shortened or your normal length URL. That is a great way to get people to go to an opt-in page or a landing page. And we'll explain the landing page situation here in just a second. But if you can get people to remember your podcast and use that URL that is the name of your podcast and /subscribe or join. If you can use that type of a simple, memorable URL, that's going to help you stand out a ton. I've seen in the last week, I've listened to 6 or 7 different podcasts. I'm a pretty addicted podcaster or pod listener. And out of the 6 of those, I think there was 3 of them where their URL or their call to action was for, hey, go to this page and type in 2025 FJN deal. And it was unbelievable. No one's going to do that. So you got to make it a short, simple, memorable URL that they can remember if you're going to try and drive people from your podcast while they're listening. So the other thing you want to do is, once you have established what the URL is and you want them to either land on that or opt in from the show notes, you want to have a very simple call to action that you use all the time. Like, the call to action needs to be used very consistently all the time. You don't deviate from that. So for us, we have a call to action once you give us your email or once you join us outside of the show to get a free audit on your show. That's our only call to action. That's the only thing we do, is we offer an audit for you once you give us your email. And that works so well because there's no decision fatigue. There's no confusion. You know that we are going to help you figure out the best way to monetize and grow your show, period. So that's one thing that I can say without question is going to help your conversions for people giving you their email, is if you just give them one option to do. You'll actually see that on our website, which is thehealthyprofits.com for the podcast. There is just a get started now and get your free audit. That's your only option. You can book a call with us too, but we're really just trying to help you get an audit. That's our only call to action out of the show. So those are two of the main things that we love to see people do. The third one is using your social media really intelligently. And when I say using that intelligently, this is using your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, and now it's something that a lot of people have gotten accustomed to, but getting those really juicy clips that you will be making from your podcast. And if you're not doing that now, definitely go find our episode on how to make the most sticky and the most converting reels for your podcast using your current content. Find that podcast after this. But what you want to do with those clips when you get them is to make sure that you have that CTA in there and you have that ask in all of the podcasts. Make sure you're telling people, if you want a free audit, go to this podcast. It's right here. It will open up the doorway to how you can grow and monetize your health and wellness show. That is our CTA, but we share it on social media all the time. I share that on Facebook. I share that on Instagram. I share it on LinkedIn. In fact, when I'm done with this, I'm going to share a clip from this episode specifically telling people to go and get a free audit with us. And that just piggybacks on the idea of making sure that you use that CTA all the time. Just to recap, in making sure it's easy for people to remember the URL that you're speaking of while they're in the show. So use the name of your show and /subscribe or /join. Don't get fancy dancy with it. Even if you have a special going, use the name of your show /Valentine's special. Just keep it short and simple for them. Okay. And as you're getting all the assets and the resources built for your podcast, if you are using a platform like Megaphone or Libsyn or Spotify for podcasters, they will generate a landing page for you. But if you don't use that, you do want to make sure you have a website and or a landing page set up that people can go to find out more about your episodes, find out more about what you're covering. Because the key and the name of the game here with podcasting is getting people to binge listen to your shows. Okay? So those are going to be the 3 ways to really get people from your podcast into an email list. And I'm going to give you one last tip that I just discovered that I think we're going to try on ours. And I'm very excited to try this. When people land on your podcast page, you've got them and they love the show and they move over with the CTA that you've given them, or they found the link in the show notes and they're on your landing page. One really cool it's not new, but one really cool way to get them to give you your email in kind of a gamified way is what they call the Wheel of Fortune. And we just found this out. I want to put this link in the show notes too. This is called Privy, and it allows you to pick what kind of an opt-in mechanism you want to use, whether it's a pop-up, whether it's a quiz, whether it's the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is really fun because you can just click it and it will spin and you can pick. You'll always win, but it will give your audience the idea of gamifying what they can pick as they opt in. So you'll have 3 really juicy nuggets. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a content. For us, like ours is, how do you know if your podcast is ready to monetize? So it's a checklist. You can have menus, you can have anything really that pertains to your specialized skill and the transformation you always take people on. Those are the great giveaways that you can get. And this Wheel of Fortune style way of doing it just gamifies it. So it doesn't look like you just have to give an email. You can basically win something. You know what gets me on this all the time is Temu. Temu is the master of doing that. If you've ever looked at an ad on Temu or gone to a Temu website, they always have the Wheel of Fortune and I always win. So anyway, that is something that you can do when you get to that spot and you're building your landing page. Use one of those tools to help get people onto that email list. So if you have any questions, obviously that you can reach us at thehealthyprofitspodcast.com for more inquiries, and or if you want a free audit of your show, just visit that same URL, healthyprofitspodcast.com, and book your free audit with us today. So hopefully that will help really get you guys aligned with getting emails out of a podcast and getting people to subscribe. Try those 3 different things and we will see you. Please make sure if you have any other questions, you leave those here in the review and we'll get to those as well. And hope you guys are having a great day. Happy podcasting. Now that was a great episode. Thanks for joining us and tuning in to the Healthy Profits Podcast.
Sammy and I are here to help you turn your health podcast into a treasure trove of opportunity for your listeners and your business. So join us twice a week as we unleash our favorite tips and strategies that have helped our clients at Evolve Podcasting turn their show into a thriving part of their business.
And make sure you subscribe and listen in as each episode builds upon each other. And I know that you're a generous leader, so make sure you share this podcast with your fellow wellness entrepreneurs so we can all grow together.
Until next time, stay healthy and keep thriving.
Bye.
Bye.